Let's do.
All right. So, hello everybody. Welcome back to another session of SG STEM. I think this is our 16th or 17th. I should probably start writing this down. But yes, for this session, we have Dr. Anuj, who is the co-founder of the Biomimicry Singapore Network. And he's going to talk to us about biomimicry and its outreach locally in Singapore. And for those of you who are not too sure, right, biomimicry is when we take what nature has given us and we modify it to solve our problems. So, and I'm sure Anuj will be able to give us some great examples, maybe even hint at some upcoming projects that might be happening in the biomimicry field. So, Anuj, you can take it away.
Thanks, Kanan. Can you guys see my screen all right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So good evening, guys. Thanks for joining. I know it's one of the Chinese New Year. People are busy. But this talk, I want to share some of my experiences in biomimicry and how the field has been developing in Singapore. Right. Begin with, I must clarify my affiliations and my interests. So a lot of you may know me as a butterfly person. Some know me as a bird person, ecology, etc. And so today I'm talking about biomimicry, and I will be representing the Biomimicry Singapore Network. Now, a little bit about me and how I got here. Well, as I remember, I was interested in nature, and growing up, I was maybe brainwashed a little bit by my dad, who convinced me to take engineering, right? And so as I went into that degree, my bachelor's was in engineering, and then I came out of it and was wondering, how do I bring this engineering world to the natural world and vice versa? That led me on a journey. So I did my master's in biomimicry, a PhD in ecology later. And a couple of years after, in 2016, that led us, along with two co-founders, to set up what we call the Biomimicry Singapore Network. Right? So this network is an official network that is part of the Global Biomimicry Institute networks. And you can go online, search biomimicry global network, find a whole. After we set this up in 2016, a little bit like a passion project to bring everyone together in this field, in this practice, and share the meme of biomimicry. What does it mean? What is happening? And through that, hopefully trigger a new area of interest in Singapore and in the region. So in the past 4+ years, it's still been rather low key. All of us have been, who've been a core part of the network, doing this on a pro bono basis, but we've managed to build up several workshops. We've written articles and given several talks, such as one today, but also many others to educational institutions, from primary level all the way to university and professionals. We've also given a number of workshops from NParks to MOE, just sharing about the wonders of nature and talking about how that can inspire us to do wonderful design. Now, to familiarize all of us with biomimicry, I want to tell you and start off with something familiar. We would all agree that Singapore is a city in nature, and we are embracing biophilia. We see more and more green buildings, and over time, surely, we also see more and more focus on ecological design and landscaping, such as Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park here, which had the river basin naturalized. However, when it comes to biomimicry or a biomimetic future, We don't quite know yet. We are also trying to figure it out. Hopefully in the next few minutes, I want to share ideas on what I mean, or what is my take on this. But now let's think about nature. Nature has over 10 million species, which all do many different things, one of which is making color. Local examples, Asian fairy bluebird, Aropala butterflies, they produce color using structural patterns. So nature produces color with very few pigments, with structures that are happening at a nanoscale, and yet it produces color that is non-toxic. How do we make color? Well, a lot of the colors we make are either toxic, they pollute river streams, or they need a lot of industrial processes. But that's not all. Think about spiders. Well, spider silk is not only sustainable, but it is produced by the spider in real time, and it is actually 5 times stronger than steel by weight and 3 times stronger than any other synthetic material that we've produced. Now, just think about that, digest that for a second. The spider actually produces that eating insects and other organisms. So the intake is really simple things, and it is producing a material in real time that is super strong, super sustainable, that we still cannot produce under laboratory conditions. Now, clearly nature is doing something that is far more powerful, far more elegant, and it holds the secrets to sustainability. Now, hopefully by those examples, I've given you and motivated you a little bit to say, hey, nature's designs are cool. Right? So learning and emulation of nature's time-tested strategies is really biomimicry. Life has been around for 3.8 billion years, during which many species have come in, others have gone by, the fittest have survived, and they have really learned to live and adapt on this planet. It also acknowledges the fact that humans as a species are a very young one. We have barely been on the planet for about 300,000 years, but many other species have been here much, much longer, millions of years. So in the evolutionary sense, they are our elders, and they have much to offer on how they live on this planet. And if you really think about it a bit more, all of the industrial revolution that we are so proud of happened in the past 200 to 50 years. That is really a tiny speck of time in Earth's evolutionary history. So let that sink in. 200 years versus 3.8 billion years of how much life has evolved. Right? So with that reverence, with that knowledge about life, biomimicry starts off. Well, it's also not a new discipline. Indigenous cultures have been learning from nature, and they have been building things sustainably. Well, it's been only in the last 20, 30 years, from the times of Janine Benyus and others who have written about biomimicry in mainstream media, that it's picking up as a discipline of science and design across the world. And it has already inspired a lot of innovative solutions, such as the Velcro on Linux glass, whale tubercle inspired blades, self-cleaning paints inspired by the lotus leaf, as well as aerodynamic train designs that are inspired by the kingfisher, and many, many more. In fact, the list keeps growing, and it's really hard to keep track of these innovations now. But behind all of these, there is some form and logic. So biomimicry can largely be practiced across 3 different scales. These are form, process, and ecosystem. If you're mimicking the form, such as mimicking the scales of a pangolin to create an armor that is both strong and flexible, that is form-based biomimicry. If somebody is mimicking how mangroves desalinate, how do they remove salt from their tissues, excrete it out of their leaves, that is mimicking a process level biomimicry, something that's happening inside the organism. Whereas mimicking the different interactions between organisms, competition, cooperation, dependence, symbiosis, etc., becomes an ecosystem level biomimicry. That sets the foundation for us to understand how this practice can be taken at a much deeper level. Now, in Singapore, the good news is that a lot of research is already happening, and some of this is really cutting edge, right? Like the Biological and Biomimetics Laboratory in NTU, which is looking at a whole suite of strategies in marine organisms, from biofouling, biomineralization, elasticity, etc. In SUTD, for example, Professor Javier Fernandez and his lab are looking at insect chitin, right, which is abundantly available. How do you extract that and create something that is an alternative and a sustainable alternative to plastic? But that's not all. They are also revolutionizing manufacturing. At a nanoscale, step by step, how do we manufacture things like nature does? And I think that is a huge, huge promise for the future. Now, as these solutions are moving from labs to industry, government agencies are also picking up on biomimicry, such as PUB. Now, we know water is a big challenge in Singapore, or rather, water is something we are always very careful about, and we are proud of our water story. But then desalination is something that we're still trying to master. It's currently quite energy intensive, and PUB is specifically looking at biomimicry and mangroves to figure out how to reduce energy usage and make desalination more energy and cost efficient, so we can be less reliant on foreign water and become more self-reliant. But that's not all. I think biomimicry is also happening at places we may not realize, and in ways that we may not realize, such as in landscapes. Now, in the past few years, we have been seeing more and more multi-tiered plantings. And while this is not thought of as biomimicry, to me it is, because we are really trying to mimic a forest, and multi-tiered plantings, be it in streetscape, in nature ways, or somewhere else, along our parks and gardens, are creating something as complex as a forest. It is also biomimicry. And at a broader level, where we are thinking about ecosystems, I think we are embracing circular economy, which at its heart is the concept that is inspired by nature. Because nature produces no waste, and one organism's waste becomes another's resource. In the built environment, there are many examples as well, such as the Solaris building in Fusionopolis. Now, it's inspired by the ant mounds, which have this neat spiral shape to water. So when it rains, they have enough time to come out of the mound and escape. Our buildings, it allows us to create more efficient rainwater harvesting systems, which not only slow down the flow of water, but also allow the creation of a continuous ramp, which is good for biodiversity. So multifunctional as well. However, not all that looks different is biomimicry. Now, the Gardens by the Bay super tree groves and the Esplanade yes, these remind us of natural forms like the tree and the durian, but I leave it to you to decide. To my knowledge, they were just biophilic and not really inspired by nature's function, and perhaps not biomimicry. Now, you might be wondering, with all of these examples, research, desalination, etc., like, what is nature's recipe? How is nature so good at what it does? Right? And the secret sauce is life's principles. Right? So experts have looked at this for a while, and they have distilled some principles um, that are so-called nature's deep patterns, patterns that work across the majority of species, 99.9% of species, and across time. I don't have time to go through these today. And if you are interested, feel free to Google up Life's Principles Biomimicry, and you will find a lot of material. But just to give an example, one of the life's principles is that nature incorporates diversity. Right? By doing so, it creates resilience, uh, and it also becomes decentralized. And I think we do that well in Singapore, right? Through this little cartoon that you see, we embrace racial harmony, racial diversity. So while we've been learning how to do or learning how to mimic nature unconsciously, I think there is some room to think about this. Audrey is in the audience, and Audrey helped us to put together this article a couple of years ago where we talked about learning from nature to build smarter cities. Shouldn't we be thinking about nature's designs to create a city of tomorrow that we want to be? And specifically, things that we want to do, such as construction. Singapore wants to go underground. Who could we learn from? Well, there are a whole suite of underground organisms, such as earthworms, right, that are flexible in shape. They could be fantastic models for us to mimic. We want to be a smart nation that is connected through intelligent networks, smart sensors, Internet of Things. Well, we could be learning from the world's biggest network, the mycorrhizal networks, or in biomimicry, we call that as the wood wide web, wood wide web. Now, for this, while we've been talking about emulation, mimicking nature, and the fantastic things that come with it, let's not forget the other aspect of nature, of biomimicry, is to reconnect with nature, with an ethos that is born out of reverence and respect. Right? And that is something I hold very near and dear, because once we start getting reconnected with nature, I think innovation and ideas come by, and we begin to see nature in a different perspective, one as a model, measure, and mentor. And if you see nature as a mentor, I think our relationship with nature changes completely. It's no longer about should have or not have. It becomes a teacher, and something you have a very intimate and a different sort of relationship. So this is something me and my colleagues in the Biomimicry Singapore Network really want to drive. We've already done a couple of workshops, and we've realized that, hey, we need to develop more local modules, and specifically curriculums that can be brought to schools, local and international, through MOE and other curriculums. So we've been trying to figure out cool ways, fun ways in which we can talk about biomimicry, such as nature did it first. Right? If you're interested in curriculum, stay tuned. We've applied for some funding, and hopefully we will be able to pilot some of these curriculums with schools such as Commonwealth Secondary. Now, in the meantime, if you're interested, Feel free to check out resources such as Ask Nature, source that is a wonderful compilation of nearly 3,000 different strategies about nature. And it can really be a great starting point for you guys to just see how cool nature is. And finally, before I end, as you begin to research about biomimicry, think about some of these points. It may be a simple solution like a leaking roof, or managing shade in your house. How does nature do it? And if you then start off on a journey, a personal journey, right, you may want to ask, am I really understanding the biology? Right? What am I copying? Is it the form, process, or ecosystem? And often this needs an interdisciplinary mindset, right? You may need to consult your friends and experts who may be engineers, who may be biologists, who may be material scientists, to really figure out, okay, how do I mimic nature? Maybe even with DIY tools, maybe with things that are around you, right? And hopefully come up with something that is suited to your local context. In doing so, I think the question to ask is, did I create something that was better? Was there a sustainability win? And finally, something perhaps most important is approaching all this with a sense of gratitude, reconnect, and respect. After all, we don't want to harm or damage the mentors that we are learning from nature. Right. With that, I will end my sharing. If you are interested, feel free to check out the Biomimicry Singapore website. We are actually in the process of revamping the website, hopefully with the new funding, to make it a lot better and a lot more interactive. But in the meantime, I'd encourage you to sign up on the mailing list and just be connected with the community. Right. I'm happy to take questions now.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Anuj. Thank you for the talk. That was very informative, and I enjoyed seeing like the thought process that goes through when you're trying to build like a biomimetic system. Especially, I like the last slide where it was like evaluate your needs for biomimicry. That was really cool. So let me just go through quickly and look for questions in the chat. Marcus, if you have isolated any questions,
sharing.
No, it's okay. We'll just look for questions in the chat. So and then we'll just ask them to you. Marcus, if you have questions, you can start first.
Okay, maybe I have a question. Steenway asked whether there is a good book for biomimicry. Is there something that you recommend people to read to get started?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe I should have had a photo of it. The 101 for biomimicry I'd recommend is Innovation Inspired by Nature by Jain Benyus. Benyus as in Benys. That is the book personally got me interested, and I think it's real eye-opener.
Cool. Okay, and I see it on Amazon, and I pasted the link there. Yeah, I've got one question. So, so for someone, what is the advice you would have for a designer or planner if they would want to start looking at biomimetic designs? Like, so, for example, I'm a biologist. How do I suggest or tell an engineer or a designer where to start or where to look, or what are some guides that you could tell someone to start?
Right. I think that's a really good question, and one I'm also trying to answer. So in Singapore, unfortunately, we don't have a ready-made course that people could take, right, on biomimicry. We are actually in the process of discussing one with NUS, and hopefully in the coming years it will materialize. But there are several online resources, including an online course that folks could take. The best one I would recommend is through the Biomimicry Institute in the US. And that would get you started on a good footing. So a lot of these courses help somebody become what we call a biologist at the design table, right? So for those folks who have been trained in biology, have a really strong biological knowledge, they know evolution, they know the molecular biology, they know the behavior of organisms, but it may not be easy for them to really translate this knowledge into design, a language that designers, engineers, and the creative folks would understand, right? So when somebody goes through a course like biomimicry, that is a skill you hone in. How do you become useful at the design table, right? And then it goes vice versa, right? If you want to start on a biomimicry project, you obviously want to team up with other multidisciplinary folks, because as a biologist, one could provide the biology, but then you need the engineer to really translate it into reality.
That sounds cool, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you could say that biomimicry is like one of the disciplines where like all of the S, T, E, and M from STEM can come together.
Exactly, pretty much.
That is great. That is great.
And I think therein lies the challenge, opportunity, and challenge, right? Because it's what perhaps a unifying theme in STEM, but because it needs so many different parts for it to come to life, it comes with a little bit of a steep learning curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got one question from Lim Jia Xuan. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Hi there. Why are man-made creations not considered part of nature? Like, why is there the thing between man and nature when man is supposed to be nature, I guess? And how are detrimental effects to nature defined? Is it when it harms us or when it harms the biology around us? And lastly, why is the detrimental effects we create not considered a way of nature?
All right, that's quite a philosophical question. Now, I'll take the first part, right? Why are or human creations not considered a part of biomimicry, right? Now, let's get this right. Obviously, we are part of nature, right? Our bodies are part of nature. If you just look at the human body, its anatomy, its functions, it's a great powerhouse, right? So this thing about man versus nature, I think it's again a man-made construct. But when we typically talk about natural solutions, we talk about solutions the way non-human species do it or create it, in the sense of not using artificial laboratory, industrial revolution type conditions, right? So I think that's a man-made definition. Now, why are some of our designs not, again, it's going into this philosophy, what is nature? Are humans part of nature or not? I think broadly speaking, yes, we are part of nature, but the way it's usually understood is that our modern manufacturing style is not the way nature actually manufactures. So it's just a semantics and a language thing, but I hope I answered your question.
Awesome. And we'll take one more question, Anuj, one last one before we delve into the quiz. Fang Ni Go wants to know, what is the difference between bioengineering and biomimicry?
Right. Now, biomimicry is really looking at nature from a functional perspective, right? Like, what is an organism doing, right? And how can we mimic it, right? And you can really apply biomimicry to any field you can imagine, even to business, right? And actually, a lot of business leaders have been looking at nature for inspiration. Okay, can we look at an ant mound, right? A community, right? And see how can I make a better organization? Because in the end, nature manages itself, and in a company, humans need to be managed, right? Can there be a creative way to manage humans? So while biomimicry is quite broad, right? Yes, there is bio in front of it, but it can be applied to really anything you can imagine. Whereas bioengineering, in my understanding, is applying engineering to issues that are biological in nature, right? So I would say they're slightly different and they definitely overlap, but there is a clear line of difference between the two.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm.
Okay, I know I said that was the last question, but you know me, right? So we'll have the last question, and it is from Rupali. She wants to know: does biomimicry also include sustainable development in terms of environmental impact?
Right. Rupali, I'm not sure if I understood your question, but how do I put it? Well, I say we are always in the search of sustainable solutions, aren't we? Like, we are doing a lot of research and we are saying, hey, if there was a holy grail for sustainability, right, let us have it. For me, the sustainable world already exists. It is the natural world. It's been here for billions of years, and all we need to look is outside, literally outside, right? So biomimicry definitely looks at sustainable development because it is the foundation for biomimicry, right? We're looking at nature, and hopefully whatever we create using nature's intelligence is more sustainable. Again, it's the devil is in the details. You could look at sustainable ways of nature, but can you manufacture it sustainably is another thing, right? But yeah, I think broadly we're looking at sustainable development in biomimicry. I'm not sure if I answered it, I think in a convoluted way.
Thank you, Anuj. Thanks for taking the questions. I think that will be all the questions for now. Thank you very much for the talk. I think a lot of us learned a lot of many new things.
Cool.
That was great. So people do hang around. We will be going on to the trivia. I think Anuj might be sticking around for a bit as well, so you guys can probably drop more questions in the chat. So let me just get screen sharing. Oh.
Yeah, meanwhile, I would encourage everyone, if you wish to unmute yourself and say thank you to Anuj for the amazing talk. Thanks, Anuj.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anuj.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, super. Meanwhile, we're transiting to the trivia. So if you are interested to take part in the trivia, but have not put your name down for the team name as well as beneficiary, I've just pasted the Google Sheet, live Google Sheet. So go ahead, go in, put in your team name or your name and your beneficiary should you win the trivia.
Who are our teams this week, Marcus?
So far we have our everlasting Xiaxin Wei, the Presbytis Femoralis, beneficiaries acres. There's an Uncle Lee cattle, that must be Gretel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so what's happening is that we will, for new first-time players, SG STEM trivia, we play about four rounds of trivia, including one bonus round, and a team for today for each round is PAW, Paul. So if you wish to join, just go ahead to the live Google Sheet, put in your team name and desired beneficiary. And so what happens is that the winner of the trivia gets to decide where the trivia pot benefits, right? So the money would be donated to the environmental charity of your choice. Right, so you could, well, it's not compulsory to contribute to the trivia pot, but if you wish to, if you've got Ang Pao money to spare, you could pay now this number there, or your PayPal, and do indicate your name so we know who is the one that's contributing.
Yes, do send it along because this is all the Hang Pao I'll be getting. And it doesn't even go to me, I'll get to hold on your Hang Pao for like a weekend and then it goes off to your beneficiary. So yeah.
Yeah, receipts for donation receipts are always posted on our website, so you can check it out there.
So let me enjoy the festivity for this weekend. So do send me your Hang Pao monies.
Yep. So what's happening is that you could take part, you could play the trivia by yourself, or you could team up with someone you know here, discuss over WhatsApp or privately over the chat, and write down your answers or type it out on your phones or something like that. And at the end, we request that you take a photo of it or email us your answers with your team name to sgstem.talktrivia@gmail.com. We'll show this again at the end. There's an honor code. You're not supposed to be looking at the information on the web or books, but you're allowed to ask your teammates, discuss it. And at the end of the questions, we will review the answers and you mark it yourself. All right, so I think we are ready to begin. There are 3 teams playing today. So
excellent. Always feel free to add more teams as the time goes by. And if you guys got any questions, right, drop it in the chat and we will look at them and reply to you. And if let's say Marcus or I cannot get to you, one of our regulars will definitely will. So let's go. PAW, Paul, because for petrol, not the kind of petrol you're thinking of, but yeah, P for petrol. Gretel is like, why? Why not? So when was the last time petrol duties were raised in Singapore? When was the last time petrol duties were raised in Singapore? A, 2013, B, 2015, C, 2017, and D, 2019. When was the last time petrol duties were raised in Singapore?
Yeah. So this is of course related to the budget that was announced on Monday. So EPM, who is also finance minister, said that, oh, they're going to be raising petrol duties, and it was in place on that day. So people were up in arms. Right? This is to help us transit to a lower carbon economy.
All right, moving on. If you guys need any questions repeating, just shout at me in the chat and I'll get back to you. Petrol makes up how many percent of crude oil? Petrol makes up how many percentage of crude oil? A, 45, B, 55, C, 65, D, 0. Petrol is not part of crude oil. So petrol makes up how many percentage of crude oil?
Yep, and that picture that Kanan put up there, it's known as a nodding donkey, and it's only used to bring up crude oil.
That's literally like the only thing I remember from my secondary school geography about oil fields, the nodding donkey.
You guys learn such thing in secondary school, lucky.
Is this biomimicry?
Oh, I think it's morphology based biomimicry. It's like, oh yeah, Question 3. Which of these locations has the most expensive petrol? Which of these locations should you not visit if you want to top up your car? A, Kuwait, B, the United Kingdom, C, Hong Kong, and D, Singapore. Which of these
Where is
locations?
Kuwait?
Middle East-ish. I think if I'm wrong, someone correct me. If someone knows like a better location than the Middle East, please put it in the chat. But yeah, I think Kuwait should be in the Middle East. United Kingdom, Hong Kong, Singapore, where should you not go if you want to fill up your car tank? Sidway says it's next to Iraq, if he's not wrong. Perhaps.
Yeah, I think what's what 1991 did Iraq invade Kuwait? That was what caused Desert Storm, right? Operation Desert Storm, yeah.
Or JB would be other end of the list. If let's say you want where you should go to top up your car. All right, moving on to the next part, Anuj. So as you guys know, the new theme is we get a section with questions made up, gotten from our speakers. So all these questions came from Anuj. Question 1, how long has life been around on planet Earth? How long has life been around on planet Earth? A, 1.8 billion years. B, 3.8 billion years. C, 4.5 billion years. D, always.
Is this a Harry Potter thing? No, it's not. Is it? Always.
A? What A? Oh, you mean the topic A? A stands for Anuj, because these topics were
From Anuj's talk.
yeah.
Interesting that this map is centered on the Indian Ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe if you
Because when I pasted it, I was like, sorry, Anuj, yeah.
no, I was just saying if you're awake for my talk, this should be an easy one.
Yeah. It's kind of
Next one. How many official biomimicry networks are there in Asia? How many official biomimicry networks are there in Asia? So I got this like cool pictures and stuff, and I assume like the bottom one, which looks like a shark's tail, might be like some form of sea current measuring thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to stare at. And the one above it also, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
What is that?
They're like wind vanes, but under the sea.
Yeah. I don't really know what they are. I know this photo. I think it shows up on the internet a lot.
Yes. I did not search very far. And question 3. What are the functions of butterfly legs? What are the functions of butterfly legs? A, to help land and take off. B, same as A, but then detect host plants and act as a cleaning brush as well. C, help land and take off, detect host plants, nectar plants, and act as a cleaning brush. Or D, all of the above. What are the functions of butterfly legs? Okay. I'll move on. As always, let me know if you need me to go back to a question. And for W for Paul is women pursuing degrees in STEM fields.
Another
Based on,
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, go on, Marcus, go on.
Yeah, this is another big thing that came out in the news, I think early this week. So we thought it'd be good to have it.
Yeah. Marcus and I are all about the current affairs. Based on the combined university intake data from 2019, women account for how many % of the cohort in STEM courses from 30% in 2017?
This is for Singapore data.
This thing about it, this was based, or I should put it, it's based on a Straits Times article that came out earlier this week in lieu with International Women in Science Day. Yeah. Right. And 2, and which of the following sciences in Singapore has had the highest representation of women? Which of the following sciences has had the highest representation of women? Health sciences, information technology, natural sciences, and mathematics. Obviously, I may say which of the following courses or areas, not sciences. Which of the following areas has had the highest representation of women? A, health sciences, B, information technology, C, natural sciences, and D, mathematics.
My course had more women than men, as far as I remember.
Really? I can't remember mine now, but I know like Asian people were very underrepresented. There were like 3 of us. Then again, you know, was yours the same when you were in the US? Did you have like a good number of Asian people?
Not many. Yeah, but I'm talking about in NUS when I was doing my bachelor's. Yeah, more women for sure. So my current one, yeah, actually for my current one too, there are more women than men.
Okay. And lastly, which of the following terms was coined to describe a female in that field? Which of the following terms was coined to describe a female in that field? A, a scientist, B, a technician, C, an engineer, or D, mathematician. Because, previously, right, before that, it would have been like a man of culture, a man of maths, a man of arts, a man of science, a man of engineering. So they don't use terms like that before. It was only when a woman entered the field, they were like, wait a minute, we can't use man now, can we? And then they came up with this term, one of these terms, to describe the lady. So you could say she was like the first official A, scientist, B, technician, C, engineer, or D, mathematician. Okay, awesome. We will now go to answers. Does anyone need any questions repeating, discussing, anything? That's a no in the chat. So let's go. So answers for patrol. The last time duties were raised in Singapore was in 2015. 2015 was the time we saw a hike in petrol prices. And petrol makes up 45% of crude oil. Petrol makes up 45% of crude oil. And see, you should never go to Hong Kong because it is the most expensive place to pump petrol. Hong Kong is the most expensive place to pump petrol. Hong Kong takes about 50 pounds to fill up like a Vauxhall, but it's a UK survey. But the cheapest place, I can't remember which one, will take 68 pence. So that's about $100 to about $1.30 to fill up your tank. So yeah, that was the cheapest place.
$3.
Sorry? Is it?
Yeah. Singapore's $2 something, so Hong Kong's price is at least a third higher.
We're getting there. Answers for Anuj's questions. And the answer is 3.8 billion years. Life has been around 3.8 billion years. And that's how long they have had to like do their own problem solving, and will just come along and adapt them. And there are 4 official biomimicry networks in Asia. Anuj, what are they, aside from the Singapore one?
Right. So there is China, Taiwan, Singapore, and India.
Excellent. So it's China, Taiwan, Singapore, and India biomimicry networks. And lastly, the function of a butterfly's legs is B, they help the butterfly land and take off, as you would expect, detect host plants, and they also act as a cleaning brush, because butterflies are all squeaky clean. So that is B for butterflies.
By the way, if I may add, on this question, right, we don't always think about butterfly parts, or for that matter, any animal parts who have multiple functions. We think, oh, it's just to take off and land. But nature always does this, right? One thing has so many different functions. Yeah, which I found really cool. Yeah, so they not only detect they not only land and take off, they also are able to detect plants. They act as cleaning brush, but nectar plants are a bit different because those work on more like charge and visual cues, like electrical charge and visual cues, and less about
How
chemical.
could they detect host plants with their feet? Do they taste it or smell it?
Yeah, pretty much. Because it's a chemical reception, so they're able to taste it almost.
Awesome.
That is cool. I knew about like they could use their feet to like detect and taste stuff, but I didn't know that they also act as cleaning brushes. Excellent. All right, answers for women pursuing degrees in STEM fields. 41% of women, the women accounted for 41% of the cohort in STEM courses in 2019 universities.
Are we going to
41%.
give 5 plus minus percent?
Okay, yeah, you know what? We'll give it to you 5% plus minus.
So
Oh,
46.
no, you know what? No, you got to be higher than 38. So 2% plus minus.
Wow.
39 to 43.
Okay, so if you've got 39% to 43%, you get 1 point. Correct.
You did get it. Because if you're going to get, you can't be lower than 38. So yeah.
So like 45. How
So
for that
close.
5 seconds.
Close but no
So
cigar.
close. So close. But hey, that's like me having all the money for the weekend. Some short-lived happiness. Health sciences has got the biggest representation of women. Health science courses have the biggest representation of women. And IT, information technology, has the lowest representation of women. Okay, moving on. Scientist was the name that was coined for the first woman scientist, because a man of science did not work for her. So scientist was the first one. I can't remember her name now. Mary something. I'll find it and put it up in the. I'll put up like an article on her later on our SG STEM page on Facebook. So she was the one who was first. Yes, we can also use the term scientist as like a lioness.
Yes,
Like yeah. So yeah, so scientist was the first woman scientist. So yeah. Moving on to the bonus round. Marcus, take it away.
Okay, so how does this work? So please tally up your score and update it on the SG STEM trivia live Google Sheet. So I see everyone has done it, and put your wager on. So how the wager works is that this is the point for you to catch up if you are behind. So you put down the amount of points you want to wager in the wager column. How it works is that you gain the amount of points you wager if you get the bonus point correct, but you lose the amount of points you wager if you're wrong. So let's say if you got 5 points and you wager 5 points, you get a bonus point correct. Bonus question correct, you get 5 plus 5, 10 points. But if you get the bonus question wrong, you get 5 minus 5, you get 0 points. All right, so think carefully before you wager. This might or might not be a difficult question for the bonus round. So I see Fishy is still deciding how much wager you want to put in. So please fill that in and then we could start. So Siasen Wei has wagered all his points. Uncle Lee Carter has wagered 4 out of 5 points. And Fishy, we're still waiting for you.
It's Fishy who I think it is.
Okay, Fishy has wagered all their points too. All right, so we can go on.
Mary Somerville was the first scientist. I was Googling it up, sorry. So yeah, so you guys can go and Google up by Mary Somerville. I'll put up an article later on SG STEM. So yeah, everyone's sorted. Let's go. So this was mentioned in Anuj's talk. So all of our bonus questions come from there. What are the 3 types of biomimicry mentioned? What are the 3 types of biomimicry mentioned? To help you jog your memory, I've used the same images that he used in his talk. So there was a pangolin, there were mangrove trees, and there were dung beetles with dung. So what are the 3 types? Oh, I'll have you know that you have to get all 3 correct.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to get all 3 correct. If not, you will not win this. But we are nice and we will not care if you spell it wrongly or if you put them in different orders and stuff. We just need 3 of them.
I see Anuj grinning with glee now.
Yeah. And also since Anuj is here, right? If let's say if you guys want to contest any of your answers, because you're like, oh, it's the same thing, it's just a different word, we can check it with Anuj. So yeah. So my hands will be clean.
All right, so I think it's quick enough to write.
Yeah, it's 3 things. We don't care about spelling. So as long as you kind of vaguely resemble the word, we will be happy.
Down beat though, man.
Gretel is like, this is why I don't come. This is why my friends don't come to talks anymore. Okay, reveal the answers, shall we, Marcus?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
All right, everyone sorted, right? Yeah, let's go. The 3 types of biomimicry mentioned in the talk were form, process, and ecosystem. That is a shortened version of it. If you guys can give us form, process, and ecosystem, or words that vaguely resemble form, process, and ecosystem, we will be able to accept it. If you have any strong feelings, please put them in the chat.
I'm gonna admit my answer is totally off. I put protection, desalination, and waste management.
Wow, those are good examples.
Yeah, those are examples, but it's not the types. Yeah. You had the right idea. You had the right idea. So yeah, so it's form, process, and ecosystem. Marcus, how are we doing on the other front?
I see Fishy has got it. 8 points for Fishy.
Oh, nice.
So I think Uncle Keto gets 1 point, unfortunately, this round at the end of this. How about SSW? We'll wait for SSW's score. All right, so I think unofficially, Fishy has won.
Nice, congrats, Fishy.
Yep, so please answers by email.
Yes. So you guys can submit pictures or message us your answers at sgstem.talktrivia@gmail.com. We only do this just to be sure that we haven't miscalculated anything. So far, all of our unofficial winners have also been our official winners. So yeah, go ahead. Update your scores as well on tinyurl.com/sgstem-trivia.
Yep, and
once you've done that,
beneficiary is Comcrop. So it's first time that Comcrop is.
Okay. It's Fishy's beneficiary, is it?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have to go find them. And also the trivia pot is still open. So if you guys want to donate more to Comcrop, you can do so now. You can PayNow me or you can PayPal me. And yeah, go for it. And then hang around and we will introduce our next session speaker who is present with us today. And as usual, we will let them do their own promo because I'm tired. And our next session speaker is Marcus. You all got sight. Go on, Marcus. Talk about your talk.
Yeah. So next session's talk is about whether species awareness days work. What are they? Do they work, or are we preaching to the choir? So I think Monday was World Hippo Day. Some of you might see things being posted on social media. This Saturday it's World Pangolin Day, and Sunday it's World Whale Day. So if you seen posts like this, sometimes you might feel compelled to share this, or you might not. Or you might think about, oh, is this even going to work? Am I making an impact? So I'll discuss this, and I'll also talk about how we can optimize our messages for conservation communication. So this is from a paper that we just published with Audrey and Prof. Roman. So yeah, looking forward to see you on 4th March.
Yeah, 4th March. So the link is now live. You guys can go and sign up. And yeah, and also, right, like Marcus said, Monday was Pangolin Day. Monday was Hippo, Saturday is Pangolin, Sunday is Whale. Last year, all 3 of them came together on the same day. So that's how cool it was. So yeah, yeah, go for it. If you want to look at the paper is posted on SGSTEM. I think I posted it yesterday or 2 days ago. Told you guys we're all about the current affairs. So yeah, go and sign up, and we will see you 2 weeks from now. Thank you, and have a great weekend, and have fun.